Tenya Iida, honest, reliable, and determined to follow the rules in order to do what's right. Surely he has everything one needs to not only become a hero, but become one of the greatest heroes the world's ever known. Oh, don't be ridiculous. Not only is Iida in no way qualified to be a hero, but I suspect the author may have originally planned for him to become a villain. Though I am getting ahead of myself here. Let's start at the very beginning. We are first introduced to Tenya Iida during the entrance exam for UA, when he interrupts President Mike. Now, this just might be my own special brand of social anxiety, but interrupting a professional in a crowd full of hundreds of people to tell him that he should be ashamed of himself for simply not having a chance to explain something sounds like a scene straight out of my own personal version of hell. And then he shames Midoriya for basically whispering while he himself is openly shouting. He follows it up by stopping Deku from talking to a girl that, for all Iida knows, is a close personal friend of his, just because he doesn't want him to distract her? Seriously? But just being a jerk doesn't mean a person isn't qualified to be a hero. Just look at Endeavor. Though this does lead to the question, what makes a hero? Hey, All Might, any advice you might have on what qualifies a person to be a hero? Thank you! Alright, so to be a hero, you must run towards people in danger. Now, is that a trait Iida has? Oh, no, he does not. Iida saw a boy in danger and chose to leave him to die. Now, so did a lot of other people, but as best I can tell, none of them made it into UA, so they can't really be called heroes. Ayama was around here somewhere, but I don't think he was close enough to help. And he already helped Deku once during the test, plus I'm pretty sure he's the UA traitor, so let's look elsewhere. Even without a quirk, Deku ran headfirst to the sludge villain to save Kacchan. But he's the protagonist and the next symbol of peace, so he might be setting the bar too high. There's Aizawa, who saved Froppy even after he had his face pounded into the ground, but he's already a pro, so that's a bit more than we can expect from a student. How about the Crawler? Unless there's going to be some serious plot twist, he's not likely to become the next symbol of peace, or even a professional hero, but he still jumps right into the water to save a drowning girl, when he's not even a strong swimmer. He also gives her his All Might hoodie, an object he values above his own life, and which is arguably the source of his powers. So we are left with Iida running away and leaving Deku to die, or at least be seriously hurt, with his only justification being that, if we had not been in an exam, of course I would have done the same. Now there's a lot of holes I can point in this, but let's look at the scoreboard. Tenya Iida is currently ranked 6th overall, and if you're looking at points for just taking down villains, which is all he thought was being calculated, he'd be second only to Bakugo, and if they just counted rescue points, he'd have definitely failed. Now there are 40 students total between Class 1A and 1B, and 5 positions were offered via special recommendations, so that leaves 35 spots. And while Iida might not have known his exact score, it should be very obvious to him that he's already reserved a spot for himself. Especially since there's only about a minute left of the exam by this point, but should that even matter? I mentioned how the Crawler saved Drowning Girl earlier on. Well, that was on the way to enroll in hero classes, but because he stopped to help her, he wound up missing registration. And as a result of acting like a hero, he lost his chance to become a hero. Deku was on the verge of tears knowing he had to get some points, or everything he and All Might had worked for these last few months would have been lost. And yet he still ran headfirst into danger to save Araka. There would have been no shame if Iida had failed out of the hero exam because he stopped to save a person in need. Perhaps if it had been someone else, Iida would have stopped, but by this point, he already had a pretty low opinion of Deku. Though this opinion changes pretty quickly, as he starts justifying his own actions by claiming that Deku must have known the truth behind the exam, because he's simply incapable of imagining someone being so much more selfless than he himself is. This same pride then comes back to bite his entire class in the butt during the attack on UA, when 13 orders him to go get help since he's the fastest one there, and it takes a lot of convincing before he finally does this. During this time, most of his classmates have been abducted and are currently facing dozens of villains each. For all he knows, some of them have already been hurt or even killed, but he still refuses to leave because it would be shameful. And if he had just done as he was told, he probably could have saved Aizawa from having his face broken, and the permanent damage that is still affecting his hero work. Plus, given his state when he gets back, it looks like he never used the Recipro Burst, which is a whole different issue given that he kept his ability secret from his friends, with whom he experienced at least one villain attack and did many exercises together. But he still told nobody of his power. You know, the power that could have saved their butts if they faced another villain attack. His own team during the cavalry battle didn't even know what he was planning and were only told to hang on tight. This falls less than the villain category, but definitely shows he's not great at trusting people. He also completely betrays Midoriya, refusing to team up with him when nobody else will, because he apparently views him as a threat, even though he's physically incapable of using his powers without breaking his own bones. Even Tokoyami agrees to team up with Deku, and not only does he have one of the most powerful quirks in the class, but I'm also pretty sure this is the first time Deku's ever spoken to him. So again, not looking great for Iida. But so far, we've just confirmed that he's a bad person, and not that much worse than Bakugo. To categorize him as a villain, we need to go to the moment where I believe he would have broken. The moment he was most vulnerable. His encounter with Stain. Now, right off the bat, this has always bothered me for a few reasons. First off, everybody knows Iida went to Hozu City to arrest or kill Stain, and did nothing to stop him. Aizawa saw it in the form and knew what it meant, but did absolutely nothing to keep him from going there. He is his teacher, and could definitely have overruled it, as he has shown multiple times that he'd rather his students not break the law and die. Manuel also knew what he was planning, gave him a stern talking to, and then just dropped the subject completely, assuming he'd change his mind about revenge that easily. And then there's Deku, who's well aware of what he was planning, and barely even tried to stop him. His line is also kind of weird here, because I would eventually regret what happened on that day. What exactly does he have to regret about any of this? Because he let Iida go, they managed to not only stop Stain, but also save Native's life, and Iida managed to grow from it. I still remember the first time I read this line in the manga and was convinced it was a death flag, and yet nothing really came of it. But what if that's because things changed? What if Iida was supposed to die, or even worse, become a villain, but because of his popularity among the fanbase, Horikoshi decided to change things up and have Deku save him? This too was pretty strange to me, as Deku wasn't even going to Hosu. He was on his way to Shibuya, when his train just happened to be attacked by the Nomu, and then he just happened to run into Manuel at the exact moment that he mentioned that Iida was missing, and they just happened to find the exact alley Iida was in. Even by anime standards, this is way too lucky. So what if Deku didn't save him? There's any number of reasons why he wouldn't show up. He was in a different city, he was a few seconds late, he was busy fighting Nomu, he was giving Gran Torino backup, he was giving Todoroki backup, etc., etc. But as is the sequel to my last video, let's say that Deku just didn't show up because he never went to UA, because he never got one for all, because he never went after the sludge villain. And if that sounds interesting to you, there's a link in the description below, and there should be one at the top of the screen. So, now we have Iida facing off against Stain with no help coming, and as you might imagine, it does not go well for him. He's paralyzed by Stain's quirk, impaled by his blade, and forced to watch as Stain kills Native, before disappearing into the night. Blood loss eventually causes him to lose consciousness, but by some miracle, Iida managed to survive long enough for help to come. Though perhaps it would have been better if he hadn't. He wakes up 3 days later to learn the horrible consequences of his actions. His injuries are incredibly severe, will take months to heal, and may have even caused permanent damage, but sadly, that is not the only price that must be paid. From the evidence of the scene, the police have already put together what happened. Iida chased after the hero killer without informing his pro, used his quirk in an attempt to defeat him, and as a result, a hero has died. Iida has been expelled from UA and blacklisted from ever getting hero license in Japan. Both Manuel and Aizawa have had their hero licenses stripped while their actions are being investigated, and it seems quite likely that Aizawa will be forced to resign from UA. But even this may not be enough. The public is demanding an investigation into UA's teachings and how they allow a student to act this way. It is quite possible that Nezu will be forced to resign, and the school will be closed for a short time while the curriculum is adjusted. Regardless, the proud name of UA has been tarnished, and may never again regain the sheen that Iida was once so proud of. Finally, the Ingenium Agency has been forced to close its doors. Many of the sidekicks and other employees left after learning that their fearless leader would not be returning, and after the bad press with Tenya, only a few remained. They closed things down, hoping to rebrand and restructure, but it was obvious to all that the Ingenium name was dead, and would never again be known as the name of a hero. All this is explained to Iida by his doctors, his mother, and overheard from the nurses as he sits in his hospital bed, but he says nothing in return. He simply stares at the wall, trying to figure out how he came to this point. What had he done? Why had he gone so far? Why did so many people have to suffer because of his actions? Was what he had done really all that bad? These thoughts continued to whirl in his mind until deep into the night, and were only stopped by a strange voice from the shadows. "So you were a UA student, huh?" Iida doesn't react to these words, but is somewhat surprised he didn't hear this person entering the room. "I wanted to go there, but looking back, it was just a dream for a quirkless loser like me."
I would have loved to have a quirk like yours. So you have engines in your calves? That makes you a speed type, but how do those attach to the muscle? Do you need to input gasoline directly, or do you drink it, or is there an alternative source you use? I suppose it could be powered by your body's own electric impulses, but that would cause some pretty bad nerve damage, and electric motors don't have exhaust. It must be quite heavy. Did it affect you learning how to walk? Or did it grow in afterwards? Could be transplanted into another leg? It would probably take a few tries, but we have a few spares, I suppose.
Iida had completely ignored the rushed mumblings of this mad person, and simply wanted to leave, but as he was about to say so, the person finally introduced themselves. "Oh, sorry, I'm Deku." The name was well known around all of Japan, Deku the Hero Destroyer, an online blogger who had brought about an end to dozens of heroes with his scathing posts, revealing their crimes and secrets and forcing them into retirements. Though many of his more recent targets weren't even given that chance, as within hours or even minutes of the articles being posted, they would be attacked by Stain, leading many to believe they were working together. Iida turned his head and looked at the boy for the first time. He looked to be around his age, with dark green hair and eyes. He smiled creepily as he wrote quickly in his notebook. The boy, claiming to be Deku, looked up from his book after a few moments with a proud smile. "Oh, I see you've heard of me. I'm touched. Ever since I teamed up with Stain, I've had to..." Whatever he was going to say next was interrupted by Iida jumping out of his bed to attack him. But the combination of his wounds and painkillers simply resulted in him falling into a heap on the floor as the impact sent fresh waves of pain throughout his body, and a quiet scream escaped his lips. Deku let out a sigh before bending down to help him into a seated position, and while Iida attempted quite poorly to resist, this feeble effort was stopped as he felt a needle plunge deep into his neck. "I'm sure that sensation feels familiar," Deku said as he smiled lovingly at the syringe he pulled from his pocket. "It took some tinkering, but I managed to create an effect quite similar to Stain's, though not nearly as convenient." "Just get it over with and kill me!" Deku paused and stared strangely at Iida for a few moments before a look of realization overcame him. "Oh, no, I'm not here to kill you. I'm here to make amends." After Stain and I went our separate ways, he stopped targeting guilty heroes and started going after basically anyone he came across, still hoping to make the world a better place in his own way. But I've done a very deep dive into Ingenium's past, and I can say with certainty that he was one of the few true heroes in this world. Actually, just posted an article about him a few minutes ago, praising his record and offering his agency some advice on how to function without him. "Why would villain scum like you do that?" You know, the history books say the term villain used to be used almost exclusively to describe the bad guys from Saturday morning cartoons. Now it's used to describe anyone who uses their quirk for their own benefits. By that logic, no matter how many people I kill, I'll never be a villain. And no matter how many people I save, I'll never be a hero. But you had everything you need to become a hero, and you just threw it all away. In the eyes of the world, you're the real villain here. "Then the world is wrong!" Deku smiled. "Oh, it's so much worse than you can imagine. In your hunt for Stain, I'm sure you read my articles. All the so-called heroes that abuse their powers for their own gain. And that was just the tip of the iceberg. My employer has eyes and ears in every corner of this country, and he's seen corruption beyond what you could even imagine. He wishes to remake Japan to a place of freedom, a place where your actions would be celebrated, and those who call themselves heroes would be held to a higher standard. The kind of world where your brother would have been truly recognized. And I believe you can help make that world a reality. If you join, we can cure your injuries and make you stronger than ever before." Iida stared in utter shock as Deku spoke. The articles he'd written had worried Iida, learning that such corruption dwelled within those society had deemed fit to call heroes. But to know it ran so much deeper chilled Iida to the bone. This opportunity could be his chance to really make a difference, to change the world without being a hero. But to follow the boy who had led so many to their deaths, could he do this? "Oh, I almost forgot. If you meet my employer's expectations, we can even repair your brother's spine. Ingenium can once more be known as the name of a hero." His eyes widened at these words. Would it be possible? The best doctors in the world hadn't been able to do a thing. It had to be a lie, but even if it was, he couldn't take that chance. If it was to save his brother, he would don a villain's mask. He would do what he must, and as the paralysis began to wear off, he lifted his arm to shake Deku's hand. "Oh, I'm so happy you're on board. I really didn't want to have to kill you." He said this with such a sweet and innocent smile that Iida was left wondering, what would have happened if this boy had been born with a quirk? perhaps he would have become one of the greatest heroes the world ever known. But sadly, that was not this world. Tenya Iida disappeared from his hospital bed in the middle of the night. The security cameras had been placed on loop and every nurse had been knocked unconscious. Many theories spread online about what had happened to him. Some believed that Stain had returned to finish what he started. Others said he was abducted by the government to become a test subject, and some wondered if this was work of his family, putting him somewhere where that he wouldn't embarrass them anymore. The truth, however, was far darker than anyone could imagine, and would not be known until the chosen day when Deku, Iida, and one other would unveil themselves to the world as the trio that killed All Might, the ones that brought an end to the symbol of peace. Whew, okay, so that was part 2. And right off the bat, I just want to thank everyone who watched my last video. There's so much love and support in the comment section, I really couldn't believe it. It's actually kind of funny considering What If Deku Became a Villain was like the first idea I had for a YouTube video when I started my channel, but just, kept pushing it back, like, oh, that idea's stupid, no one's gonna like it, and I was very wrong, and I'm so happy I was. Also, really, really sorry this video took so long to get up. I mean, I started working on it, right after the last one ended, but just the holidays and everything else, and just took way longer than I expected, and I really couldn't, cheap out on this one. It needed to be my best video after how much support I got the last one, so just thank you again for all of that. And I already have a rough outline for part 3. Basically, to make this video, I rewatched all of the first 2 seasons of My Hero Academia, and while doing that, I also was getting clips for part 3 as well, so I have some ideas, but let me think about all this down below. Any theories, speculations, ideas you might have, things you thought I did in this video that weren't how a character would respond, or how you think other characters respond to any of this, just let me think about all it down below. Anything you feel like saying, even if it's really negative, I'm really excited to hear it, and hopefully it'll make part 3 even better. So, thank you again. Be sure to like and subscribe to the next video. Until then, peace.